Welcome. This is a video intended for AP Psychology students at Granby High School. It's an introduction to a concept that is new for me this year. I'm very excited to be implementing it in our classroom, and that is the flipped classroom model. So what is a flipped classroom? A flipped classroom is one that really takes the traditional idea of what's going on in the classroom and turns it on its head. What do we mean by that? We mean that in the traditional classroom, teachers really often lecture. They're often the ones in front of the classroom presenting material, and that's what goes on in the classroom. Whereas at home, students often are doing the activities, the work, the kind of hands-on stuff as they get to know the material. A flipped classroom tries to reverse that. Instead of practice and activities being done as homework, now practice and activities are done in the classroom. Any lectures, any readings, anything along those lines, those are going to be done at home prior to coming to class. So whatever presentation I would give on any topic during this year is all going to be recorded, presented online, and will be assigned to you as homework. That frees up our 90 minutes in class to work on more in-depth activities. It allows us to really apply what we understand about psychology into real-world situations. And that allows me to get a better feel of exactly what you know and exactly what you don't know, and maybe that we need to reteach. So hopefully, as we implement this model this year, it's going to allow our students to really improve how we perform both on in-class assessments and also on the AP test in May. So why are we doing this? Flipping the classroom presents us with a variety of benefits as we implement it. Number one, it allows people to really work at different paces as we work on activities in the classroom. If someone is really struggling with material, it allows me as a teacher to really kind of pull those students aside and reteach something that they may be struggling with, or someone's been absent. It allows me to do the same thing. Speaking of absences, if you are missing class, either for sports or activities or just you're homesick, this allows the direct instruction, the information that would typically be presented in class, to always be available to you. It's always going to be available online. You can watch it whenever you want to. You can rewatch it whenever you need to. You can pause if you get interrupted at home. Or you can pause if you need to kind of go back and replay something. And so it allows you to really be in control of the pace with which you are presented the direct instruction. Whereas if you're just sitting in a normal classroom, the teacher's going at whatever pace seems right for an entire group of students, you may be getting it, you may not be getting it. Whatever's going on with you personally, the teacher's going to continue going on with that pace. This gives you more control about how quickly or how slowly you need to go in order to learn new information that's being presented to you. Now, in some ways, honestly, flipped classrooms have been around for a while. Anytime a social studies class, for example, gives you a reading to do at home first, and then you work with that reading and activity in class the next day, in reality, that's a flipped classroom model. It doesn't have to just be about videos. But regardless, this is going to use modern technology and allow us to present what would typically be going on in the classroom in your home. So when we say you're going to be watching videos, it's going to look exactly like what you see here. It is going to be a presentation that is narrated. Now, as we go throughout the year, we'll be adding some other components to it. But as we get started, this is what the initial videos are really going to be about. One of your tasks as you learn this way is going to be able to obviously take notes on what you're learning, but then be able to come to class the next day with questions. And that's going to be a requirement for you as you come to class each day, is to have questions from what we learned, what you should have learned the night before, either from the reading or from the online lecture or from both. So it needs to be something that you're engaged with, and it needs to be something that you're bringing to the class, the information that you've learned, so that you can apply it the next day. If you do not keep up with these presentations, then you're really going to be lost in class, and it's not going to be to your benefit. How do you access the videos? The videos are going to be available to you throughout the entire year. There are two sources where you can go for these videos. There is a website that I've set up at EduBlogs that will have links to all of the videos there. And then there's also a Granby AP Psychology YouTube channel, which is currently blocked by our school's filter, but it's something I'm working on getting them to unblock that specific channel so you can have access to that. So really these videos are available to you anywhere that you can get online. If you have an app that if you YouTube app on your phone, iPad, whatever it might be, it's always available to you. So you don't just have to be at home. You can be wherever you are and accessing that information. So how do you use these videos? This puts more responsibility on you, the student, to really use these in an effective way. So like any studying situation, you need to minimize your distractions. These videos shouldn't be watched while you're also watching your favorite program and checking out Instagram or Twitter or whatever it might be. So minimize all those distractions for you. Turn off all those other devices. You're in control, so be in control of it. Pause, rewind, rewatch. You don't understand what was just presented? Rewatch it and see if you get it a little bit better the second time. If you don't, then it's the time to jot down questions and bring those questions to class. Email me those questions at that moment and to get a more immediate response. I'm available to you as you're watching these videos to answer any questions that you may have. Make sure that you're taking notes. We're going to talk about in a second how you're expected to take notes with these videos. And then, of course, ask questions. You can ask questions via email, or you can ask questions, you can bring them into class the next day. At the beginning of every single class, we're going to have a time in which you have an opportunity to ask questions and really get clarification on any information that you might not understand. So, especially for the first 2 units, I'm going to ask all students to use a note-taking strategy that many of you are probably already familiar with, and that is the Cornell note-taking strategy. Cornell Notes is really a way of organizing your notes, and it forces you to interact with your notes in a way that increases the likelihood of you remembering the information. So if you're looking at the screen here, there's essentially 2 main columns. There's a smaller column out to the left and a larger column out to the right. The larger column out to the right is where you would actually take your notes. Now these notes could be from the video, they could be from the reading guide. Either way, it doesn't matter. It can be kind of a combination of the two. That's how you're interacting with the video is by taking notes in that section. Once you're done with that, you put those away. Within 24 hours later, you should come back, reread those notes, and then start to list out kind of main ideas or key questions off in the left-hand column. The weighting is essential. The timing is important here. You don't want to do all this at one time, and the reason the timing is important is it forces you to go back and review what you've already learned, kind of refresh your memory about what it's about, and to think about it in a way that makes you to understand exactly what the main ideas were or what the key questions were. So don't try to do the main ideas right when you're taking notes. Try to go back and do those within a 24-hour time period. Then, a couple of days later, you come back again, and at the bottom, in 2 to 3 sentences, you're writing a summary of the notes in your own words. Again, forcing you to revisit the material, forcing you to show that you understand the gist of it, not just by regurgitating every little bit of information that's in your notes, but summarizing it in a concise way that demonstrates that you understand what the information was about. So again, why do we use it? Again, it forces you to study your notes correctly. What happens probably for most students is you take notes and then you never ever look at them again, except maybe for those 10 minutes where the teacher allows for you to frantically look through your notes right before you're taking a test, which of course is not a very effective way of studying. So it forces you to study in a more effective way. Just rereading your notes really isn't an effective way of studying. So Cornell Notes forces you to think about them, what you take in a way that is deep, meaningful, and forces your brain to make connections that just rereading your notes would not force you to make. It also sets your notes up in a way that is easy to study. You can simply hide one of the two columns to quiz yourself in terms of what you know or don't know. So this chart kind of demonstrates what would go on if you did no review with your notes, and what percentage of the information you would remember. 10 days later, you've got less than 25% of your information being remembered. And that's not a very effective way of studying. Whereas if you're constantly reviewing that information, over time, that you're retaining more and more and more information. Therefore, you're going to perform better on tests. So it's just a smarter way of taking notes. So you're going to be required to do this for the first 2 units. After the first 2 units, if you are maintaining an A or a B in this class, you can take notes in whatever format you wish. But if you are not, you're going to be required to continue to use Cornell Notes. And then we'll take a look at exactly how you're taking notes and using them to see if we can improve your grade up into that A-B range. Just because you're in the A-B range doesn't mean you have to stop using them. In fact, I would recommend continuing using them, as I think they're a very effective way of taking notes. But some of you are obviously very successful academically, and you may have your own way of doing things, and that's fine after the first 2 units are done. So typically, I don't check notebooks. Unless you're scoring really low, and then I'm going to see when you come back for academic remediation, we're going to take a look at your notebooks and see exactly what's going on with your organization. Are you really taking notes? Are you really watching the videos? But I am, again, these first 2 units going to collect notebooks just so I can see exactly how everyone is doing in the beginning, and to make sure that everyone is engaging with both your reading guide and text, and also with the online videos, to make sure that you are maximizing your potential on the assessments that we have in class. All right, at this point, we're done with our introduction to the flipped classroom. So again, it's it's been around for a while, but it's new for me in terms of how I'm going to organize this class. Instead of a lot of direct instruction in class with me in front of a screen, all of that's now going to be done at home, and the activities, the in-depth understanding is going to happen through the increased amount of activities that we're able to do in class. So this might be a little different than how many of your classrooms are, but hopefully as you get used to this, you'll see this as a really effective way of organizing the classroom, and hopefully it helps you to be a very successful student in my class. That being said, if you have any issues with internet connectivity or accessing the online videos, I can make them available to you on disk per request. And if that doesn't work for you, then we'll talk and figure out some other method that we can use to make sure that you have access to the information that you need. Thank you, and I look forward to working with you throughout the year.